All right, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. We've got people filtering in, so we're gonna wait for a minute or two and allow everyone to get in before we start. In the meantime, we've got a poll that we're gonna kick off to you. If you wouldn't mind taking a couple moments to fill out this poll, tell us a little bit about yourself so we can get a better sense of the context of who you are, what you do, and that'll help us control this conversation and make sure it's of good value to you.
All right, already 50 attendees. Getting busy already. Last time we had what? How many did we end up with last time, Stella or Scott? I think we had what, 70, 80-ish, something like that?
Yeah, I'd say so. Hi, Alex.
Hey guys, sorry about that.
Alex, great to see you.
Good to see you
Welcome,
guys.
welcome to the webinar, Alex. We've got a decent amount of people on the line right now, and we're just going to give them another minute to join. In the meantime, we have a poll available for everyone to tell us a little bit about themselves.
Awesome.
Alex, you're fresh back from the International Builders Show in Orlando. How was it this year compared to last? And are you on the Vegas team or Orlando team? And I think I know the answer, but
Yeah, that's a good question. So before going to Orlando, I would have said I was on the Orlando team because we're on the East Coast, and so traveling to Orlando is so much easier. No time
Mhm.
change, like 2.5 hour flight, super easy. But after getting on a bus at the Builder Show in Orlando, I'm on Team Vegas because the transportation in Orlando is brutal. But both, I mean, it's always a wonderful show to go to. Both have benefits, but I'm squarely on Team Vegas after going to Orlando. So
Yeah, as are we, as are we. That traffic situation was more than a little brutal, but only an hour or two after you want to leave, you can get out of there, and then you're back to your
that's right.
Airbnb and good to go. But
Yeah,
yeah, looking forward to Vegas next year with the I think recently renovated conference center. Should be fun.
definitely. Yeah, if you wanted to sit on a bus for 2.5 hours after being at the show all day, then Orlando is the right place to be.
Yeah, hot tip. Love it. Well, let's go ahead and jump in. Kick it back to you, Scott.
Yeah. All right. Well, hello, and thank you for tuning in. My name is Scott Townsend. I'm the head of marketing here at Prophetic. And today we're going to hear from a land acquisition professional who spent over a decade doing things the traditional way. Uh, Her story will illustrate something that we hear consistently. It's the constraint to growth in land acquisition isn't capital, it's not deal flow, it's evaluation capacity. It's how fast you can go from an interesting parcel to a confident decision, and whether you're finding opportunities systematically or by chance. So we encourage you all to drop your questions into the Q&A as we go. We'll answer them in real time. And then with that, let me introduce you to our two guests. We've got Oliver Alexander. He's the founder and CEO of Prophetic. And joining him is Alexx Monastiero. She's the principal director and land acquisition, or of land acquisition, sorry, at the Gove Group in New Hampshire. So with that, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Scott.
Awesome.
Appreciate the intro and great to see everyone today. We've got a full house already, so I'm sure more folks will trickle in. But I want to set the stage for what we're going to discuss today. So first, we're going to get to know Alex and her development history and what her team does up in the New Hampshire, Maine area. Then we're going to talk about kind of how things used to work and then what the need was and when they implemented Prophetic, what changed. And then from there, we'll take a tour through the platform itself and actually say, okay, that thing we discussed and what we described, let's actually go see how that works in real life. And then we'll finish up with some Q&A at the end here. So we've got a full hour set aside. We'll probably use most, if not all, that time. So I just wanted to give everyone a heads up. And then we were joined today by Chase as well from our sales team, who's our director of business development. Chase is ready to answer questions that come in, and he'll interface with you one-on-one. And then we'll collect some of the favorites and best ofs, and we'll go through those more at length together here. So anyways, Alex, great to see you as always. Why don't we start with a little preface on who is it the Gove Group or Gove Group, to be clear?
Yes, it's the Gove Group.
Gove Group. Okay, I'm glad I got that right. So Gove Group, help us understand the company's history. What do you guys build? Where do you build? Volume and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. So we have sort of a unique structure. We have a land development team, and then we have a new home sales team. And so we do about 300 to 500 units and approvals and build out per year. We're in New Hampshire primarily on the seacoast, but we touch in Maine too. And so our land development team, we're sourcing land all the time. We get, direct leads because of our name in the area, but always trying to get those off-market direct leads going direct to the landowners. And so that's sort of what I'm doing in the day to day is trying to find land, connect with landowners, and then taking that through the approvals process to get subdivisions approved.
Very good. Okay. So residential product type, and you guys tend to be at the higher end of the market, middle or lower end in terms of price point.
Yeah, we have a variety for sure. So we do everything from, attached townhouse style to luxury single custom builds on the water kind of deal. So we have a range for sure, but the sweet spot for us would be like mid luxury single family home developments.
Very nice. Okay. I appreciate the context there. And so help us understand kind of the past decade-ish of how did things used to work with regard to either off-market hunting or you have an inbound raw piece of dirt that comes to you from a broker. Let's start with that example. Someone calls you, says, Alex, I've got a great piece of dirt, and they're about to call 10 other folks who might be interested in acquiring it. So what does that trigger on your end in the old way of doing things? And then we'll talk through like those pain points and how it led to looking for a solution.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So if there are other land development people on the call today who they'll feel my pain on this. So every town for us, we don't have county zoning, we have individual town zoning. And so every single town has their own setup kind of. But in the olden days, pre-prophetic, we're searching through static tax maps, assessors cards. Some of our towns have GIS maps, and so that would be like a big step up. That would be super helpful. And then we're going to, different resources to look at wetlands, steep slopes. Then we're going to the town zoning ordinance to check out the zoning, trying to find aerial maps. So it's really a fragmented process. If someone calls me and says, "Hey, Alex, I've got 123 Main Street, 50 acres. What do you think?" It's going to take some time in the old way to look up the parcel, take a look at the shape of the parcel, its street frontage, and then get the zoning information, get parcel data. We're talking hours or days, not minutes for sure.
Love it. Yeah, I appreciate that context. And I think your story is similar to most folks across the country. And this is what I experienced myself when I was scaling my healthcare company across Oregon. We would operate these little clinics in small towns. And it was like, okay, can we build a clinic here or not? For God's sake, I'm just trying to understand, can I convert that diner? If so, how big can we go? How much parking do we need? What are the issues I'm going to encounter? And those questions take so long to answer that it just became an entire like blockade of, I can't really go hunt effectively. So let's talk about that piece. Let's assume the phone isn't ringing enough and you're trying to hit your 600 unit goal versus the 400 or 500 you've been at. How do you kind of break through that ceiling of I'm not getting enough inbound and go hunt off market? What was the old method of doing that?
Yeah, it's sort of embarrassing to recount, really. So I'm going to like an individual town. So let's say my office is here in Stratham, New Hampshire, and I'm going to search Stratham this week. I'm going to the tax maps or the GIS maps, and I'm starting in like one corner and manually zooming in and like searching to the next corner, going up, searching the next. So just trying to hit every parcel manually, just looking at it, and then creating a list. Of parcels that we've identified, sort of manually zooming into the street view. I mean, you can imagine, even if you're not a land development professional, like looking at your Google Maps and zooming in and say, what's here. So it's sort of like that. Honestly, it's kind of embarrassing, but going parcel by parcel and trying to identify which ones have an opportunity. And then, we were putting them in an Excel spreadsheet and
Mhm.
then analyzing them after the fact. So I'd get a list of, let's say, 50 parcels in a town, and then I'm going to each of those other resources and sort of checking a box. Is it in a residential zone? Yes. Okay, so then it stays on the list. Does it have a ton of wetlands on it? Nope, it looks like it's okay. Now it can stay on the list. And so we're sort of filtering down from that manual list creation, going, parcel by parcel in the tax maps, and then reaching out to those owners each individually. But that process, so for one town, like a local town here, that would take me a week or so, in a 40-hour, none of us work 40 hours, but in a 40-hour work week, that would be maybe 30% of what I'm doing, and you'd get one town done. And then at the end, you land with this Excel spreadsheet with a bunch of parcels, and they don't have any context to them. So you have to go back and find them and then give them, context.
Yep. Yeah, it's one, I mean, Excel is okay. It's better than paper, of course, but the tricky part with that too is data degradation. So, you can start with 50 parcels and save them and say, these are all like my first pass viable. And you get through the weeds and you say, okay, here's three I really want to target. 6 months later, the zoning can update. 10 of those parcels could be inherited by the heirs. Two of them could go
That's
into
right.
foreclosure. And those type of live pieces of data that are extremely important that can influence it as a hard yes, drop what you're doing, go buy this, or a hard no, something changed, you're never going to get it. Those really need to be integrated. So we'll talk about that and go through how that works in Prophetic as well. But this is a key piece of why we built our LRM. So at a high level view, what Prophetic does for those who are new to Prophetic or have been harassed by us enough with our LinkedIn posts that we're always putting out there. We help you guys grow. That's really our focus. Get more units to the market, help solve the housing crisis. But it's not just for housing and residential either. We have clients who are brokerages, industrial developers, data center developers, active adult care homes, you name it. They're all of our clients across the country. And we help them specifically grow by helping them find opportunities, analyze them, and then stay organized. And so that last piece, the organize, we actually trademarked the phrase LRM. CRM is for people, LRM is for land. And so we'll go through how you guys can stay organized and how Alexx and her team do it really effectively today. Um, let's see.
Yeah, and Oliver, one
So
other thing I want to touch on, if I can jump in, is,
please.
you have that static list in Excel, and it might change hands, or the zoning might change, or different things could happen. But then not only that, I'm reaching out to those owners. So let's say in your example, there was three people that I identified as the top parcels. I'm, sending them a letter, basically, here's who I am, this is what I do, would you be interested in selling? Those letters are taking time to get to them, and people consider them. I've had people call me years later, and I have no context for the person that's calling me. And so they want to feel really important, right? I wrote them a letter. They're calling me back and saying, hey, you wrote me about my piece of land on 123 Main Street. Can you tell me what you could do? And then for me, pre-prophetic, there's this like, gut drop feeling, because it's like I don't have any idea. I'm like, oh, what town is it in? Can you tell
Yeah.
me anything else about it? I'm like searching through my Excel spreadsheets trying to find Kristen from, Fremont to see what parcel of land she has. And so that has also been, I didn't expect this solution from Prophetic when we were testing it, but the relationship that I can form with landowners when they call the first time is so much stronger than it was when I'm like, I don't know, I'm going to have to call you back. Let me look through my 15 Excel spreadsheets and find out who you are.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I appreciate you bringing that up. And that's like such a key piece, right? I remember when we were first initially building Prophetic some years back, and someone asked me, why does this solution matter? A project's still going to take 3 years. It's so long for it to deliver value. And there was such a light bulb moment for me where I was like, wow, people who are outside real estate development and land acquisition, they really don't get it, because it's not about a 3 year project taking 2.5 years. It's about doing the project in the first place, which comes down
Mm,
to rapidly assessing the land for viability. And when you're hunting off market, it's a numbers game. You're going to send out 100 letters, you're going to get 10 responses, two are willing to sell, you buy one.
that's right.
1% close rate, not too bad. But when you get those 10 responses, your ability to be educated and know exactly what the heck they're talking about and say, oh, right, yes, we looked at your site. It's really good for these things. And I think I could build 6 homes on it. Let's have a conversation. Great. That's trust. It seems like a one-to-one interaction where you sent out one letter and they got one response. They don't know
That's
about the
right.
500 other letters. But
Yeah.
the end of the day, that relationship can be built. And then hopefully that off-market transaction proceeds a lot faster and a lot smoother, because anytime you're talking with an off-market landowner, when you say, hey, I'm going to have to get back to you on that, they say, oh, okay. Well, I have 6 other letters I've been saving. I guess I'll give them a ring too. But if you
That's
schedule
right.
coffee for tomorrow because it's a high potential site and you're able to retrieve all that information the moment they call back, there's no need for them to continue the conversation elsewhere. Um,
Absolutely.
okay, let's go over really quick. Kind of our first interaction. So Alexx and I met at the International Builder Show in Vegas, 2025. So a little over a year ago now. And I remember it vividly. Alexx walked by and kind of just stopped in our tracks, looked at our booth, looked us up and down, and was like, "Is this real?" So what was going through your head at that point of like, should I stop and talk to these people or keep on walking? And what was the pain point that kind of caught your eye?
Yeah, as anyone who's been to the Builder Show understands, like you're walking down these aisles of hundreds of booths, and people are like, "Hey, Alex, like, can I tell you about this, kitchen selections option?" And so you're really trying to filter out, like, what am I gonna, no matter who I end up talking to, I'm gonna take a few minutes. I'm not an asshole, okay? I'm gonna give them the time of day, right? And so, you're trying to like avert your gaze to people you don't want to talk to, so you don't get sucked into a 5-minute conversation, but. Yeah, we went over, you guys were in like the startup area, which is an area we always try to take a look at. We know that like cutting edge stuff is going to be over there. And so when you see land or land development software, for us, that would be like a minority of products, right? That you would see at the builder show. And so we're immediately, so they're like watching, whatever's on the screen, trying to get the bird's eye view. And I remember, and I was thinking about it prior to this call, poor Oliver, we must have gone over to your booth like 10 times. I mean, we had a group of people with us, and so I saw Oliver and sort of watched the demo and got the down low, and I was like, this could be really exciting for us. I remember my reservation being, this looks like it's going to work really well in places like Texas or where zoning is much larger spread and the land is there's much more land available and there aren't as many constraints. But could this work for us in New England where zoning is very town-based, and we have a lot of steep slopes and wetland water quality problems. And is it possible that something that could work on a large scale for somewhere else could work for us? And so, it's like I did the demo, and then I'm texting someone on my team, like, you've got to come over to the Prophetic booth with me and do this demo and see what I'm missing. Like, this can't be real. We've been doing this. We're top. I mean, we are the top of our market in this area for land development and land acquisition, and I feel pretty confident saying that. If any of my competitors are on the call, they can text me after and tell me I'm wrong. But we feel like we are, cutting edge for what land development could do in our area, and to see this, it was like, wow, if this is real, this is going to change the way that this industry is run.
Love it. Yeah, and it was a collection of fruitful conversations at IBS, and then we had a few more demos after the show. Ultimately signed up. I think you guys deployed around April of last year, maybe May.
That's right.
Um, so you've been on Prophetic for almost a year now, but the results have been outstanding. You guys are almost daily use rate, I think, is you guys are 80, 90%, something like that in terms of how often you log in and use the platform, which is frankly par for the course. Our clients generally, once they get in there, they just never stop, they never leave. All of our clients across the board, from individual brokers all the way up to DR Horton, because we work with them on a national scale as well, that combined bucket of our daily use rate over 80% in terms of how often people are logging in as a percent of business days, because it just solves such a big problem. Um, but all that being said, the decision to move forward with Prophetic, okay, great, this is worth a shot. This can really help our process. And then you deployed Prophetic, you got to using it, the team trained you, we handle all that stuff for you as well, make sure that you guys are getting every dollar of value from it. What are the results you generated? Because this was so exciting to us to see, yeah, you found some and you analyzed some, and then what?
Yeah, no, it's been so exciting for us. And I've got to tell you, Oliver, that one of the considerations when we decided to take the jump, Prophetic, you guys were wonderful. Everybody that we've worked with at Prophetic has been outstanding. But to like get us over the hump. But in that like final moment of are we going to do it or are we not going to do it? We were weighing the cost of waiting, right? So if our competitors down the street decide to take the jump and do this before we do, they're going to get the first stab at all of the leads. They're going to get the first stab at all the parcels that we haven't identified, and they're going to, have access to this before us. So if we wait 6 months, that's 6 months of lost opportunity. And so when, we're back in April making that decision, that's really what got us over the line. And that has been true for us as we've seen it come to fruition as we're doing these searches. And so day one, week one, month one in prophetic, there are so many things that we didn't expect that have been awesome. But really, it took that manual, embarrassing search that I ran you guys through down to like a few minutes to have that lead log. So to get the same, let's say 50 parcels when I'm scrolling through GIS maps or tax maps onto the Excel spreadsheet, I can hit a few buttons in prophetic and get that same list in less than a minute. And so having access to that data in that time and all that time savings allows us to expand our process. So if we're not taking 20 hours a week doing the searching, that gives us 20 hours a week to connect with landowners in different ways, to do more research, to do more marketing, to, get the word out in different ways and sort of downstream follow it up. And so, yeah, I mean, exactly what you said. We use it every day. We're not every day creating lists, right? But it has so many uses. Someone calls us on the phone and says, we have a parcel coming on, a listing hits MLS. We use it all the time for things like that. But then we just start, in the same, taking the old process and adapting it to prophetic, running those searches for single lots in each town, running those searches for developable land in each town, and getting those lists together. And then once we have the list, something else that we're able to implement because of prophetic is a different way to reach out to landowners. So we'd been sending like a form letter, and you can imagine for anyone on the call, it's like pre-written typed letter with a, bracketed insert name, bracketed insert town. And I'm pulling from that Excel spreadsheet and it's saying like, Dear Susie and Joe, your property in Stratham is really interesting to us, but everything else is form, right? Like it's scripted, it's something that we came up with. It's like 3 paragraphs long and I'm signing it, hand signing it at the bottom, mailing it out of my office, and it's going out. In that process, after you go through the Excel spreadsheet, takes a long time too. But we switched to the postcards that appear to be handwritten, and we send those out to the top parcels that we're interested in our area. And changing from the form letters to the handwritten postcards, we've seen an incredible change in our response rate. So previously, we were like less than 1% of people would call us based on the letters that we sent. With the
Which is
post,
normal, by the way. I mean,
yeah,
that's what we hear from all of
thank
our customers, half
you.
to 1%. That is
Yeah.
average. You print your form letter, like that's totally okay, but that's, can it be better? Well,
Right. And we think, again, we thought at that time we're doing the best that can be done, right? Like this is what the process is. You just have to get the information out there. We're sending follow-up letters. But then we get introduced to this postcard idea, and the postcards are written by a robot somewhere else, but they look handwritten. And we send them from our office. So it saves me, time, but it feels really personal to the landowner. And our response rate has been closer to 20% on those. And sometimes the response is no, right? Sometimes it's like, no, I'm not right now, or I'm going to put it in conservation or something like that. But we never got those responses from the form letter. Now we have people writing us back, calling us back, and saying, hey, I so appreciate that postcard that you sent me. And it's not in the cards, it's not right now, we're 5 years out, or we're ready to sell. But we're getting those interactions with people. And so then you have a relationship with the person. So in 5 years, it's not just a letter that was sitting in their desk. You have their contact information. You can check in. In a year, I can say, hey, I know you said a couple more years. I just wanted to check in. Did you see that land prices in Stratham have gone up substantially? Have you seen our new development down the street from you? You should go check it out. So it creates another contact point.
yeah, you've hit the nail on the head, and that's why the Gove Group has been so successful, is because clearly you're experts at building relationships. And the system Alex is referring to is our ability to send the landowner a handwritten card through Prophetic, where it uses a template, it fills in their info, and it's a warehouse full of robotic arms through our partner company that writes these cards, writes the same font on the exterior of the envelope, sends it to the landowner, and your response rate goes up 10 to 20 times, not 10 to 20%. 100 to 200% increase in response rates. And sure, some of those are going to say, no, I don't actually want to sell, but hey, that's still a relationship you can build. And if they took the time to write a handwritten response saying no, you can bet they're saving that card in case their circumstances change. So hugely,
That's
hugely
right.
valuable. Um, and then all that work, all that analysis, organizing, using Prophetic day in, day out, led to some pretty cool outcomes. Tell us about the property. Is it in Greenland?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
Yeah, we have closed officially on our first, what we're calling prophetic lot. And we have a number of parcels of land that we've identified in prophetic aside from that lot. that we're talking to the owners, that we're working through details and things like that. So it's not the only benefit that we've seen, but we have closed on this piece, and so that's very exciting. And it's sort of an interesting story because this Greenland is a prime town near us. It's a coastal town. It's a place where people really want to live. It's a low tax rate, which New Hampshire is sort of infamous for having high taxes. So that town is really desirable. It's a luxury market. And there was a development that was built out like 20 to 30 years ago with really nice high-end homes, and people love living in that neighborhood. And we, in manually searching tax maps, we're focused on larger parcels that we can develop, but we also love to get sort of these single lots that we can just get going on right away. And so Prophetic found a lot in that neighborhood. We didn't even know it existed. We've looked at the tax maps 100 times. We've driven through the neighborhood 100 times. We know people love to live in that neighborhood. And as you can imagine, in a neighborhood that was built out 20 years ago, there's nothing like flashing, like there's an extra lot here. It just looks like land in between two houses. And so Prophetic identified as we were doing a single lot search that lot to us. We sent a postcard to the owner. She had inherited it from her dad. She'd owned it for many, many years and really just didn't know what to do with it or know the value of it. We put a contract together and we've started clearing the lot, so progress is happening out there. And so this single lot that we have closed will way more than pay for the investment that we made in Prophetic. This is a $2 million home neighborhood, like in that vicinity. And so between the value that we were able to pay the owner for the lot plus the value that they'll make on the house, this is a couple $100,000 return on investment for that lot. And the owner of the parcel was really happy too. She didn't know, the high value of the lot. We're talking about a $700,000 lot that she inherited that is sitting in a neighborhood that nobody knows about. And so I feel pretty confident that despite being an expert in the market over here, we may never have identified that lot without Prophetic because there was nothing sort of calling us to it.
God, I love that story so much. It just the whole team and I celebrated that victory for you guys when you told us that story. It's just so cool.
It's
Um,
awesome. Yeah.
I imagine that was quite a fun feeling of like a holy cow, is this real? And then you dove deeper and you're like, oh my God, it's seven letter, seven letter.
Yes, yeah. And how did this tool do it? And I couldn't, and like, wow, what an awesome thing to have on your team, right? Like there is human error and human assumptions, but the software doesn't have that. And so really helpful as like a check too.
You mentioned being skeptical about whether it would work in New England because New England's such a fragmented market. Specifically, what convinced you that it could handle your complexity? That's question one. And then question two is for someone listening who's still doing things the manual way, what would you say is the biggest risk of waiting to make this kind of change?
Yeah, if you're doing it the manual way still, I'm so sorry for you. I've been there, I've done it, and I'm telling you, your life is going to be changed if you can use this type of software. So, um, yeah, I think what got us over the hump is Prophetic. The customer service that we received in those early days, I'm not joking, I actually think I went and saw Oliver 10 times at the show. But then we had a number of follow-up calls, right? They have really held our hand. They answered our questions. They gave us demos. They brought the data in to make sure that we would have everything that we need. They showed us, they proved to us that they could do it, and they showed us the data. And then we were able to, believe, seeing is believing. And so we're able to see that it would work. We were able to test it. We would, go to 123 Main Street. I know what the zoning is. I know who the owner is. Can you show me that it's right? And they were able to do that for us. And then also just continued hand holding with us. I remember distinctly Mike at Prophetic is our like one-on-one guy that we talk to. He gives us all of our data. He answers all our questions. And in the very early days, like first couple weeks of using it, I'm searching. I'm like, God, it's not working. I'm so frustrated. And I ping Mike and I'm like, hey, Mike, I'm having a really hard time. I wanted to search for this property. It's not coming up. And he's like, yeah, no problem. Let's hop on a call real quick. We'll walk through it. Hop on a call. And he's like, hey, Alex, did you change the box to address when you were searching instead of town? So even answering the stupid questions, he took the time to hop on a phone, and I just hadn't changed my search from town to address, and I was trying to put an address in. And so Yeah, you guys have the Prophetic team has really provided excellent customer service, which made us feel comfortable moving forward and also showed us that they could make it work for us.
Appreciate that, Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah, we take it really seriously here. Like this is a substantial shift, not only in terms of like a tech change, whether you're going from GIS to actual like modern native software here, but really it's, you're used to doing it the inbound, hope and pray approach versus outbound control my destiny and grow more. That requires a change of thinking, and we're here to help with that. We also watch the analytics on the back end. If your team is doing great with your numbers, but no one is using search, we will call you and say, hey, do you want us to schedule a training and understand how this works more? Because the analytics are not showing that it's getting the use it should. And then to the original question as well of what's the cost of waiting? I want to quantify like what is a pre and post prophetic in terms of the numbers of parcels analyzed. So before prophetic, Alex, how many off or on market parcels do you think you'd give like a solid true analysis to of like I'm going to actually consider this one kind of the old way?
Yeah, we'd probably be able to do 100, like in-depth analysis, 100 to 200 a year.
Yep. Yep. And how many, let's pull the stats actually. Stella or Chase, I don't know if you could pull total stats in terms of like uh, Gove Groups last year or something, but that total number, I'd be super curious to see what it is. Um, but we usually see users go from 100 to 300 parcels a month if they have a multi-person acquisition team that is really doing this work, spending a few hours per parcel. That's fairly normal. Once they deploy Prophetic, I have users doing over 5,000 parcels a month individually.
Mm,
So the way we describe this kind of moment is those who are using this is like the halo moment of think of like you go to the homecoming dance and you're there a little early and you're there with three other people and it's like, whoa, they decorated the floor with a bunch of money on the ground. Wow, I can just go pick all this up. Look at this. And as more and more people come to the dance, more and more people are grabbing the money. So if you think about that as an analogy of like the really nice high quality sites that no one is talking to because they don't know they exist or they haven't analyzed them at scale, right now, those who are using this, they're early to homecoming and they're stuffing their shirt full of dollars and getting out of there. But those who are late to the party will find that the phone is ringing less often because they didn't start hunting proactively, and the pipelines of their future business and their development are going to be a lot more slim unless you start to kind of take control sooner than later. So that's where we're big advocates of do this now, make the investment, and reap the rewards in the years to come because it's way better to be ahead of the pack than behind in this case.
that's absolutely right. Yeah, and your competitors are, to the cost of waiting, your competitors are likely doing it. If you're not, or at least you have the risk that they are, and they're getting ahead of you in this sort of analysis and in that initial contact with the owner. And that really, for us, even the quality of the conversation, if you're not using Prophetic and you call the same landowner that I call, the quality of information that you're going to be able to give them right off the bat in that first 2-minute conversation, I think, is much lower. And I've experienced is much lower because I've been the dummy on the phone who didn't have the information too. And so I think in terms of conversion, you got to get a seat at the table with the owner, which Prophetic can help you do. But then you also have to create trust and convert them. And like I said, Prophetic has really helped us to do that.
Love it. Thanks, Alex.
So I've got two more questions for you. And then we just launched a poll for everyone who's on the line. There's an audience poll that's live for you now to help inform next steps. If you want to take some, feel free to fill that out, and that'll help make sure you get what you're looking for. So, Alex, you said you found that one property that you'd manually search for, but you never saw it. How does that change your confidence about what else might be out there that you haven't found yet?
Yeah, it creates a lot of confidence in the product, right? And so when you're thinking about your time, if you know that it can identify parcels that you can't identify, it promotes me spending more time in the software finding parcels, right? It makes me feel really confident that the tool is working for me and even working beyond what my capabilities are. And so it just reassures you that you made the right investment. And then, of course, seeing a house get built and go up and a new homeowner. Anyone who's in the business of new homes knows that this is an industry where we get to make people's dreams come true. And it doesn't come without blood and sweat and tears and literal nails in the hand, but these opportunities allow us to make dreams come true for the people that buy the homes. And so, just in pursuit of that, knowing that it found a lot and there's going to be a happy homeowner in this awesome neighborhood where we thought nobody else would be able to build a home, it's just amazing.
I love that. This will be the last question. Sounds like this one's for you, Oliver. So, from your perspective, working with land acquisition teams across the country, how common is Alex's story? Is this typical of what you're seeing?
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to explain how fragmented these processes are across the country. We work with clients in all 50 states to some extent or another. Um, the largest home builders in the world are using Excel sheets and fragmented county sources or software platform one, two, three across different divisions. And frankly, none of them are very good. I've tried them all. That's one of the reasons I built Prophetic, was because I realized, modern technology can just do so much more than what these platforms are offering. And the county website is just not built for development analysis. It's built for tax record retrieval. So what we're seeing is, once you have the freedom to think like this and to search an entire area and say, I want this exact opportunity, and you have 350 results, people are like a kid in a candy store. You start coming up with these ideas, you start thinking of ways to make this work. You find an assemblage you didn't realize was the same person, and you give them a ring, and all of a sudden, sure, I will talk about that other parcel with me. And so the blossoming of opportunities and the creative expression of just getting in there and saying, I've always wanted to do this, now I can do it. What does that lead to? That's why it gets so much use, is because even if you're only buying 1, 3, 5, 50 sites a year, it allows you to plant the seeds of what's possible and expedite everything in terms of understanding your market, finding the good sites, building those conversations and relationships, and building towards a dramatically higher growth rate. And that's really just what keeps us going and makes us happy. Is, this is the third company I built. I'm a small business owner, and there's nothing better than helping folks grow in their business and get more volume and, achieve more of those homeowner dreams. So, yeah, we love doing it with our clients and partnering to get more units built here.
Awesome.
Any other good ones there, Scott?
One just popped in. When you're in an initial meeting with a landowner and make a presentation, and the landowner asks, what will you pay and when can you close? What do you say? I don't know
Yeah,
if this
well,
is a joke, but if
that's really
so
dependent. Yeah.
punchline first and then real story.
Yeah, that's really dependent on the parcel. Every single owner that walks in the door wants their land to be the most valuable piece of land that has ever existed, as we all know. But the difference is, if let's say someone drops in my office and they want to sell their land, for me to be able to give them a real number backed by data that feels legitimate, would previously have taken a ton of time. Now with Prophetic, I can feel pretty confident in, the zoning, the output, the wetlands, the steep slopes. I can take a real in-depth look before I even go to the field and have a really good idea of what the value of that parcel is going to be. And then, of course, we put boots on the ground and we start to do that due diligence, but it sets you up for success. And so it depends, right, is the answer, but it allows us to make a much more informed decision.
It is a tough job, and I have a lot of respect for folks in land acquisition to not only be able to convince someone to sell the family farm, or say, hey, this is the right move at the point in your life you are. There's a lot of knocking on doors through barking dogs and chain link
Oh,
fences, and
yeah.
that is a difficult job, but that is your skill set. That is what you are so good at. That's how you built these businesses that do 50 units, 500, 5,000. And that's what you should spend your time on. Let us analyze and automate this legwork so you can put your skill set to best use and dominate your current market or expand into new horizons.
Yeah, if you don't have to just be searching for opportunities, if you let the software search for you, then you can do what you're really good at and not take the time just searching. Let the search results be there for you, and then use your expertise to do the things that are much harder, that require your time.
Yeah. Get your boots on, get your dog treats, get up to that
That's
front
right.
door.
I've been chased
Yeah,
by my fair share of dogs over the years, that's for sure.
I imagine. Well, this has been a terrific conversation, Alex. Really appreciate your time today. I know how busy you are, so to get an hour of your time is a true honor. So thank you. And to the Prophetic team, thank you for the organization, and to all of our attendees, thanks for the time and the ears today. This recording will be sent out to those who are registered and who already were here participating. It'll also be posted on our website in the Resource Center, so feel free to follow up, ask any questions, and you can also book a demo directly through Prophetic's website, propheticsoftware.ai, and it will give you available time slots, and you'll chat with Chase or one of the other teammates.
So cool.
All
Thank
right.
you guys. You guys have revolutionized the way that we work, and we are so appreciative.
Thank you, Alex. Appreciate
Thank
that.
you so much. Thanks
Wonderful.
everyone for joining.
Thanks, y'all.